What's going on, Green Teamers? We've got some major news for you on today's edition of Celtics Today by Chat Sports. Not good news to start, as Sam Hauser left the Pistons game on Monday night and did not return with an ankle injury. So we're going to break down that injury, what it means for the Celtics, both short and long term on today's show. And then we got some major trade news that we'll cover on the back half of today's episode. Before we do, though, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We upload free, informative Celtics content all the time here at Celtics Today, and we're trying to hit our next milestone of 55,000 subscribers. Do it for Baylor Shireman. We need 277 more members of the Green Team to go down below and hit the subscribe button, because when you do, you get free Celtics shows on your YouTube feed all season long. All right, so Sam Hauser got hurt 4 minutes into the Pistons game. Unfortunately, he looked pretty uncomfortable for a few possessions and then asked out of the game and then ended up going to the locker room after saying something to Drew Moore, the Celtics athletic trainer, and he did not return for this game. Now, Sam Hauser, he does have a history of ankle injuries in the past, most recently in the 2025 NBA playoffs when he got hurt at the beginning of the Knicks series and then didn't come back all the way until Game 5 and really wasn't the same player. So we've seen him be hobbled by an injury like this before, and it's looked like he's going to miss a little bit of time now at this point because the Celtics injury report called it a left ankle sprain. And I mean, usually if it's just a tweak or a roll, they'll say questionable to return with an ankle. But they're straight up calling this thing a sprain. So expect to see Sam Hauser miss a couple of games here. And that's not going to bode well for the Celtics, considering Sam Hauser is one of their more established veterans on the team at this point, one of their more reliable bench guys that they can go to score the basketball. Now, I say that, but Sam Hauser hasn't really had the season that he's had in the past so far this year. He's only averaging 6.5 points. Now, I'm not too concerned over the straight-up points per game volume that Sam Hauser ends up putting up. He's averaging 3.5 boards, but it's really the efficiencies that I'm having an issue with here. 34.3% from the field, and we know his entire diet is from beyond the arc, so he's shooting 34% from three-point range. That is a stark contrast to what Sam Hauser has done in his career to this point. This is the first time that Sam Hauser is sub 40% from three-point range in his NBA career. And as a matter of fact, it's the first time in Sam Hauser's basketball career dating back to his sophomore year of high school where he's shooting less than 40% from long range. So I wanted to kind of dive into what's the root cause of this for Sam Hauser. Now, when we think about what we have here with the Boston Celtics, it's the next photo if you want to go to that and then go to this one. But Sam Hauser is a player who is a catch and shoot guy. Now, if you're looking at these stats per cleaning the glass, if you looked at this assist percentage on all of his shots, and most of his shots are obviously from long range, so that's going to be most of the attempts from there. But this is a guy who, throughout his career, over 93% of his makes are off of assists. So that makes it really difficult for a guy who is missing a lot of primary playmakers on this team now to have the quality of looks that he's been used to so far in his NBA career. Like, he still scores off of assists 93% of the time this season, but it's the volume that's really not there for Sam Hauser anymore. And it's really the quality of looks that he's getting, because who has Sam Hauser benefited the most from in his NBA career so far? The guys who Sam Hauser has received those passes from to get those shots to go down aren't really playing the roles that that Sam Hauser at least has been used to in his Celtics career to this point. If you go to these numbers here, Peyton Pritchard is the most primary assist man to getting Sam Hauser buckets in his NBA career so far. Now, he's still on the Celtics roster, but Jayson Tatum is there at number 2. I mean, we know Point Tatum has gotten the best looks for the majority of the Celtics role players on the perimeter, and it's no different with Sam Hauser here. But Jayson Tatum is not on the team at this point due to his Achilles injury. Then you have Derek White, then you have Jaylen Brown, but then you have Al Horford as well, who is not a member of this team anymore. Everything has changed for the Boston Celtics and Sam Hauser as a result. Tatum is out, Horford's gone. Pritchard is also dealing with a totally different role than he was prior, because I'm sure on a lot of these Sam Hauser threes or a lot of the assists from Pritchard to Hauser, it was the ball being moved around the perimeter, and Peyton Pritchard is taking that extra pass on the wing to Sam Hauser in the corner or somewhere like that to where he gets a wide open look. So he's dominating the ball a whole heck of a lot more. He's running a lot more pick and roll, and that's just not going to be something where he's hitting Hauser a whole heck of a lot. So everybody's role has changed, and Hauser, by result, isn't really getting the same quality of shots and looks that he has been used to in the past. So his efficiencies have gone down, and hopefully at some point when Jayson Tatum does return and things are a little bit closer to normal like they used to be, we'll see Sam Hauser get back to where he needs to be. So with that being said, This hurts for a few reasons because obviously losing him right now with an ankle sprain is going to hurt the Celtics in the short term. Yes, he's shooting 34% from long range this season, but I think this is a guy who has a sustained history of success shooting the basketball to where he can correct that kind of thing. So it hurts you in that regard in the short term. Plus, Sam Hauser, in my opinion, is a pretty underrated defender. He's one of the bigger wings on the Celtics roster, standing at 6'8". But also, you got to think about his value if the Celtics were thinking about trading him. Like, his value is going to begin to dip because he's shooting his career worst from three-point range, and now he has an injury on his docket as well. So his value is going to begin to tank. I don't think that Celtics are going to, go out and trade Sam Hauser, but if they were thinking about it, this is just something to ponder now. I don't think they're going to do it, though, because this is just too good of a value on your roster, man. When you have a guy who, yes, does shoot 40% from three-point range consistently, I think it's going to be corrected once we see Tatum get back to action. You don't trade a guy who does that when he's making $10 million, $11 million, $11 million, $12 million. Like, you just don't find that type of value. I mean, compare him to a guy like Duncan Robinson in Miami. Oh, well, was in Miami. And was making $19 million a season years ago. Sam Hauser is making $11 million in 2028, for God's sakes. So this is one of the best value contracts in the league. I don't have to worry. I'm not going to worry too much about this early season slump. I'm more worried about the injury that he has going on at this point. So show some love for him down in the comment section right now. Wish Sam Hauser a speedy recovery. Drop his jersey number down in the comment sections. Type those 30s. I want to see 300 30s just pepper in the comment section on today's video. All right, next up, we're going to get some major trade news. A key date in the trade deadline cycle has arrived. Plus, the Celtics-Pistons game that was on Monday night, it made a trade for this team pretty obvious. That in just a moment. First, though, I got to tell you guys about our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. The holiday season is here, folks, with basketball matchups, bowl games, and playoff pushes all happening at once. And with us making a ton of decisions this time of year on what gifts to buy, what to eat, which games to watch, there's one place where making decisions and being right on them can get you paid, and that is Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy sports app in the game. And it looks awesome to play. It is awesome to play. Super easy to use. Takes less than 60 seconds to create a daily fantasy sports lineup. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can win up to 2,000 times your money watching your Boston Celtics this season. It also offers the best features, like stacks. So if you want to take Jaylen Brown points and Jaylen Brown steals and put it in the same lineup, you can do so on Prize Picks. It's also becoming a social event as well, where you can follow other creators, celebrities, your friends, and copy their lineups into your own using the brand new feed tab. They even offer an early payout feature now on lineups. So if you're feeling confident but not confident enough to see it all the way through, you might be able to cash out for an early payout. New users, you're getting hooked up, though, on Prize Picks. Download the app today and use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, so the Celtics went pretty cold from three-point range in this game, and I'm not really going to harp on that too much. You're going to have cold shooting nights. Jaylen Brown is going to have cold shooting nights. He didn't shoot great from three-point range. Didn't shoot great from the line either. Missed 5 free throws in a game you lost by 7, so could have ended up being the difference there. And look, Jaylen Brown ended up taking responsibility for this game. This is what I love about the Jays, Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They always put the responsibility on themselves. This is their franchise, and when they lose basketball games, they are going to take the heat. Jaylen Brown said mentality-wise, mindset-wise, I needed to move to be more for my team tonight, and I was not. And it's insane that Jaylen Brown is saying this coming off of a game where he had 34 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. Like, look at what this guy is doing as the number one option of the Boston Celtics. He's averaging like 34 points a game over the last 9. He is taking leaps and bounds as a playmaker this season. He's crashing the glass. He's playing elite deep. Like, he's still doing everything we knew Jaylen Brown could do, and he's upping the scoring volume and efficiency so far this season. He's shooting around 50% from the field. He's shooting a decent number from three-point range for his standards. Like, everything is going right for Jaylen Brown. I was wrong about him being a solid number one option for this team. The Celtics are above 500. They're in the Eastern Conference playoff race. And that's all we can ask with Jayson Tatum on the sideline this season. But back to the Pistons game, because another just glaring downfall and really pitfall of this team is the lack of size. The Pistons had 16 second chance points on 12 offensive rebounds in a game you lost by 7. Like, those are points that you're leaving on the table or just handing to the opponent, and it ended up being the difference in this game. The Pistons had a bunch more points off turnovers as well, but I'm really just going to harp on the size for Boston here today because the Celtics are currently 24th in second chance points or opponent second chance points, I should say, and then 26th in defensive rebounding. Who could have seen this coming? No Al Horford, no Kristaps Porzingis, no Jayson Tatum, your best rebounder on the roster, even last year when you had all those bigs. They're all gone at this point, and the Celtics replaced them with Luka Garza and Chris Boucher, two guys who are stacking up DMPs at this point. Look, the Celtics have tried to combat this with small ball, and I don't think that lineup has much more to offer anymore, man. There's only so much Josh Minott you can run at the center position for a guy who hasn't even played more than 25 minutes in his NBA career before this season came around. So with that being said, the Celtics got to go out there and add more size to this roster. And good news, trade season is finally here. December 15th has passed, so all the players who were recently signed to deals in the offseason are finally eligible to be traded, as well as players who were recently traded in the offseason as well. Number one trade candidate for the Boston Celtics, Anthony Simons, now eligible to be traded. We could start really hearing some smoke around a Celtics trade, from NBA insiders around the league at this point. And, I mean, the number one guy is Anthony Simons. He hasn't been a player who Joe Mazzulla, I've seen from my point of view, fully trusts. He's shooting, I guess, solid percentages for the most part, and he is a player who the Celtics can go to as a ball handler, as a guy who can just go get buckets, dribble, and score the basketball. And you need those guys on your roster, but with him making $27 million and the Celtics have a glaring hole at the big man spot, it makes sense to move on from Anthony Simons here with him on an expiring contract. We'll tell you who they could trade for in just a moment, but before we do, comment a name. Before you see any of the guys that we talk about on the show today, name a player that you want the Celtics to trade for. Who is your number one trade target here with the deadline a little bit over 2 months, or a little bit less than 2 months away at this point? So this is what I think Brad Stevens' plan is. I think. I don't know Brad because he's just so much smarter than me, I couldn't even conceptualize it. The Celtics, though, I think they're going to try to acquire a starting level player. Now, how easy is that to do without potentially giving up a bunch of draft picks? I don't know. But I think they're going to try to get a starting level big here. The goal should be to move Neemias Queta to the bench. The Celtics are awesome when he's on the floor, but is he a starting level big in this league? I'm not so sure, and I think there are guys that the Celtics could acquire that would be a starter on this roster. But if Brad doesn't end up finding his guy at that level, like some of the guys we're about to show you, I think they're going to go for a cheaper option to shed some of that Simons money. They could go for a guy that makes, upwards of $18 to $20 million, but they wouldn't end up getting under the luxury tax. They could go after a guy who makes a little bit less money, could potentially play at the same level as Neemias Queta, if not better, and shed a bunch of the Simons money to get under that luxury tax and avoid those penalties. Let's go through a couple of those trade targets now. Some big ones, like literal big names and guys who are at the big spot here. We have Ivica Zubac and Nic Claxton. Claxton, he makes $25 million, so you're not really going to shut off any Anthony Simons money there unless you send Sam Hauser as a part of that deal to Brooklyn. That would shut off $12 million. And how far are the Celtics away from the tax line? $12 million. Zubac, though, he makes about $18 million, and you may have to throw Sam Hauser in that deal because Anthony Simons doesn't have too much value to the LA Clippers here. You might have to attach first round picks to either to acquire either of these names if you're trading Simons as well. But I don't know if that's going to be too rich for Brad's blood or not. So I want to give you guys some realistic trade targets for the Boston Celtics here. Let's start with Day'Ron Sharpe, my number one Celtics trade target. They wanted him in the offseason. They said he was going to compete with Neemias Queta for the starting center job. He is a per 36, per 100 possessions demon, and I think he would be an amazing addition to the Celtics team. He can rebound the ball. He can block shots. He can even pass the ball as well. He had 5 assists in 17 minutes a couple nights ago. Kevon Looney is a player who was recently signed to the Pelicans this season, and the Celtics have had some level of interest in him in the past. A little bit undersized, though, but does rebound the heck out of the basketball. Brook Lopes, I'm not super interested in, to be honest with you. He just is not the same player that he was a few years ago in Milwaukee. Can't really move around on the perimeter, and that's not going to bode well if they're trying to close games with Brook Lopes in 2025. Clint Capela is another name as well. I feel like his best days are behind him, but his per 36 numbers are pretty solid as well. He's averaging like 12 points, 15 rebounds per 36, but really hasn't gotten enough time or opportunity in this stint in Houston. He's only playing about 10 minutes per game. So if one of those names is the one that you picked, let me know down in the comment section or hit me up on Twitter. That will do it for today's show. Give me a follow on X at Tyler J. Smith 2 H's because the name's common, but I am not. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well, youtube.com/Celtics TV, for the latest and greatest on your C's all season long. We'll see you next time, and as always, let's go C's.